Lovely to see you all here again in the square in the city centre of Brussels. A warm welcome to you all. Thank you so much for joining us for day 2 of the RNI Days 2025. My name is Maeve McMahon. I'm a journalist from Ireland, but based in Brussels, working for Euronews, and I'm thrilled to be with you for this second day, which, as if you've seen the programme, is pretty action-packed. Also, if you do need access to the Wi-Fi code, it will be presented up there all day, so you can check in as well with your emails in case you need to catch up on a bit of work. But, as I said, an action-packed day, and we're kicking off this morning with a special panel on life sciences, and all about the new strategy for European life sciences. This discussion will be hosted by Joanna Drake, who's already in her moderator chair. She's, of course, the Deputy Director General at the European Commission's DG RTD. We'll be joined as well by Claire Skentelberry from Europa Bio. You're very welcome. And the only man on the panel this morning, you're very brave, Jeroen Hofnik. He's the founder of Swift Pharma. You're very welcome too. And here right beside me, Giulia Menichetti from Harvard Medical School, who's just flown in from Boston, but you don't look tired at all.
Maybe I will sound tired. Who knows?
Absolutely not. Well done for making it here so early in the morning. And we'll also be joined online this morning as well from Rosa Castro. She is from the Rare Diseases Europe. So enjoy the panel. Over to you, Joanna.
So, we can start. So good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for coming over here for this really interesting and really topical discussion. My name, as you have already been told, is Joanna Drake. I am the Deputy Director General for Research and Innovation, and I'm responsible for Planet, People and Science for Policy at this DG. I'm very lucky to be very much in touch with so many interesting people who know so much about a lot. I'll be moderating this discussion this morning, and we'll be discussing making the EU the most attractive place for life science. It's all about choosing Europe, and we want to make life sciences a good reason for that too. And I would like to start off by thanking you all for joining us today. It's great to see so many experts here, so many stakeholders, and also interested parties gathered here to discuss life sciences research and innovation in Europe. Life sciences drive innovation in health, in food, in sustainable production, adding nearly 1.5 trillion euros in value to the EU economy, and also supporting 29 million jobs across the Union. The life sciences sector is a strategic pillar for Europe's future prosperity, for driving innovation, for driving competitiveness, and also for the well-being of society. The strategy for European life sciences was presented just a few weeks ago, actually, on the 2nd of July. And it has set out, for the first time, a coordinated approach across the entire life sciences value chain. It has the objective to position the European Union as the world's most attractive place for life sciences by 2030. At the heart of this strategy is the concept of the life science innovation journey. Yesterday we heard Marc Lemaitre, the Director General of DG RTD, talk about the innovation journey, which is really at the heart also of the budget proposal that the Commission presented just a couple of weeks after the life science strategy. So we need to have a journey from idea to impact. This journey has 3 key interconnected phases. First, we need to lay the foundations for a competitive life sciences sector by optimizing our research and innovation ecosystem, and this includes harnessing the power of data and also AI. Next, we need to accelerate the transition. It's all about speed, from lab to fab to the market, by streamlining regulation and also mobilizing investment. And finally, we need to ensure that our innovations reach the people who actually need them. We need, therefore, to engage with the citizens. We need to know what the needs are. We need to build the trust. We need to work closely with end users and patients. So, it's all about implementation. And we are now starting the implementation phase. Yes, the hard work begins. This panel discussion, therefore, comes really at a very good moment for us to reflect about the action and how fast we can get there with the impact in tow. Today, we have an excellent panel, of course, of speakers who will share their knowledge, their expertise, their wisdom, their insights on how to implement the strategy and ensure its positive impact on the sector. So, I'll start introducing Dr. Giulia Menichetti. She's a statistical and computational physicist at the Channing Division of Network Medicine and Harvard Medical School. An applause, please.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Giulia, for joining us. She leads the Foodome project, which aims to track the chemical complexity of the food we consume and to develop tools to understand the impact of these chemicals on our health. That's really, really a tall order, but so interesting. Dr. Claire Scantlebury. She is the Director General of Europa Bio, the industry association of biotechnology in Europe. She has spent 25 years working in the commercial translation of biotech innovation and has witnessed Europe's growth, particularly through the emergence of small and medium-sized enterprises as drivers of novel biotechnology breakthroughs since the early 2000s. A big applause, ladies and gentlemen. We also have Jeroen Hovink, who is the founder and chief scientific officer at Swift Pharma, a European company using plants to produce therapeutic proteins. He will share with us his expertise in biotechnology and on translating innovative technologies into commercially viable products. Big applause for Jeroen. Last and certainly not least, even she's not present physically here, but you can see her very well on the screen, Dr. Rosa Castro, Public Affairs Director at Eurordis, who brings extensive experience in European health policy in academic research and advocacy, where she has worked at the intersection of law, health, and innovation, with a focus on access to medicines, in particular for people living with rare diseases. Big applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Dr. Rosa Castro. And on your behalf, I'd like to thank again our speakers for joining us today, and I look forward very much to a stimulating and informative discussion. But let's get started. And if you were wondering why I was not behind the lectern, well, they made it a bit too big for small people like me, so you wouldn't have seen me, so I'm sorry about that. Now I can sit down. Okay, so the EU strategy outlines several key actions to accelerate life sciences innovation. Could each of you, and you have the challenge of time, of course, you have to do this in 3 minutes each, select one specific action from the strategy that resonates most with your work and explain how it could be best implemented or made more effective from your perspective. Let's start with you, Giulia.
Okay, well, I'll try my best in 3 minutes. First of all, before jumping on what resonated with me the most, I think it's good to give some insights about the perspective I had when I read the document. So I am a physicist that does AI and data science on food and nutrition, and I have a lab in a medical school. So as you can imagine, when I started this line of work at the end of 2016, it was a very lonely place to be, but then it gathered a lot of attention in an exponential way in the past few years in the US. So let's go back to basically the strategy document. So I resonated with many points, and this is a good thing for the document, I would say. So I agree with many things that are written there, but particularly with the first two sections. The section number 1 is the one about holistic approach to life sciences, and the second one is about the power of data and AI. I was very happy to see that in the action items, especially so under the section 1 on One Health, there is basically the development of an agenda for the food systems. So how would I do this, in my humble opinion? So we shouldn't forget that food systems, nutrition in general, are probably the current most interesting and challenging data science problem we are dealing with. And so we're trying very hard to develop AI models together also with experimentalists that will allow us to map and understand more the dark matter of nutrition and really model all these chemicals together, not one at a time, to shape basically the relation between diet and health. So this is quite different from the explosion of data that we are experiencing in all the other omics, and you can read about this, of course, in the strategy document. And so the way in which we act on this, on the food system, the way in which we model the food system, need AI models that are much more agile, flexible, robust to bias, and better at generalizing. So the issue of dealing with sparse data. So what it implies also that somehow all the technology that will be inspired by the food system will improve all AI models in general. At the same time, we have LLMs. LLMs went from speaking and learning human language to speaking the language of biology. Which languages? Because there are many languages in life sciences, right? So, well, for example, structural biology for proteins, or omics and multiple omics. And guess why? Well, because there is a lot of data there. So therefore, what I think is also very important to keep in mind while we're dealing with this agenda is that the gap, the data gap that we see right now, if we do not act now, will translate in a significant knowledge gap between nutrition and all the other omics. Therefore, there is, for those that will invest in filling this gap, okay, there will be the competitive advantage to actually deliver all those multi-faceted AI technology, multimodal AI technologies that the document talks about, that will leverage the full power of one of the first determinants of health, that is nutrition.
Wow, that was quite a mouthful already, but you set the stage. I mean, the mind's boggling. So thank you so much for that, Julia. Turning now to you, Rosa. What action have you chosen, and how do you propose to best implement it?
Thanks so much. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to participate, even if I'm not there. I'm sorry for that, but I think the action that really mostly resonated with so Eurordis is the Rare Disease Europe. It's an umbrella organization that represents the rare disease community. And one of the flagship actions that we saw is this investment plan in multi-country clinical trials. And this is very important because for rare diseases, which are characterized by small populations by nature, right, we need cross-border clinical trials to have any treatment alternatives at all. Now, there is a general situation in which Europe is not currently seen as the go-to destination for clinical trials in general, and rare diseases face additional challenges. So with this small, dispersed patient population, conventional trials designs are not really possible for many of the diseases. It's very difficult to enroll enough participants in a single site and within a single country. So that doesn't leave us with any other option but to go for multi-country clinical trials. Now, multi-country clinical trials face additional hurdles. For instance, there are differences in the ethics approval procedures, in the regulatory requirements, in the language and logistics, and this makes them particularly burdensome and costly. And this is a situation that particularly affects the smaller sponsors, the non-for-profits, which are very active in this area. At the end, this contributes to delays, to underpowered studies, and also to trials that are never launched, really, they never happen because of these hurdles. So we think that for this flagship initiative, which is a great start, but now goes into implementation, as you just said, it will be very important to create a dedicated small population window in this investment plan, which provides also for funding for rare diseases and for patient co-design. I think I will refer to patient co-design a little bit later, but this includes also building up on what exists. So supporting the ambitions of the accelerating clinical trials in the EU, the ACT EU initiative, to reduce regulatory burdens and procedural burdens, and to create an enabling environment for these multinational and academic-led trials. Endorsing adaptive, fit-for-purpose trial designs is also very important, and especially those that are well adapted to the rare disease context. Very importantly for rare disease is also to continue the support for the infrastructure that exists, and I'm referring specifically to the European reference networks, the ERNs, which are potentially permanent trial structures, infrastructures that can support cross-border recruitment with the participation of patients, of course. It is very important to continue to fund them.
Thank
Also,
you, Rosa.
very important,
maybe
sorry.
if I may ask you to wind up so that I could go to the next speaker.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the
that's
input, though.
Thank you.
You've already opened a really important window and made a very important placeholder for the implementation and the investment purposes. So thank you for that, and it's really valuable input. Can I just go to you, Claire? Do you mind if would you like to share your insights at this stage? You know, what would be your preference in terms of accent, if you like, on the strategy?
Absolutely. I mean, representative of biotechnology innovation across all sectors, I'm incredibly happy to hear already Julia do the job of the heavy lifting of saying how complex it is. And what we want to do is, with this frontier technology, the critical thing that we see in the life sciences strategy is innovation responsive regulation. All science is amazing. You know, the genius science that pushes boundaries and makes things better always has to be amazing. That's 5% of its journey to its destination. The rest of the journey is how we, as communities and countries, enable it to grow and mature and be safely delivered to its destination. And these are the regulatory pathways. So, and for you look at 100 years of manufacturing, for example, it was around petrochemical-based manufacturing, for example. But what we need to do now is work out how those regulatory pathways work with biological manufacturing. And so it's not about trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. It's about how you design regulatory pathways that suit the nature of the technology going into it, and how you make it faster, make it more certain, give confidence to investors. And this is entirely within our ability to do so. This power lies with us at EU level, at US level, at member state level. All of these things are where we need to come together around responsive regulation to give the confidence and commitment to scale up amazing science, right through to patients, right through to foods, right through to any manufacturing pathway.
So really, really heavy lifting, you know, thinking it through ahead of. That's a huge responsibility. Jeroen, I wonder what's your take on this?
I'm a startup, so we need money. we need lots of it. No, I'm missing a bit towards how we are going to focus on SMEs, for example, because they are really the driving force of clinical innovation or innovation in general. So my experience in a startup is I'm in a really niche platform, plant molecular farming. So I'm probably one of the only ones in Europe that is producing this technology at scale. And I always say you don't have a product if you can't scale it. But in order to scale it out, you need money. So we are facing difficulties in accessing funding on a regular basis. I mean, this is pretty much the storyline of every startup. You're looking at bankruptcy every 2 years. So I'm missing like this one-stop integration platform that would be where you would put your project on a platform and you would be visible throughout entire Europe. So incentivization also for private investors outside the venture capitalists, because the really apparent need of a startup is first private investments and then later on really mature funding. So I'm missing that a bit, and then the input from an SME perspective. So it needs to also work bottom up instead of just top down. Really make it visible also for SMEs, but they should have a say in it. How this platform should look like, how it should function, and it would address the needs of an SME rather than being sandboxed by obviously actors that work from the top down. So.
Thank you, Arun. We have really hit the ground running here. I mean, you really have presented the real challenge, the value of death challenge, which is quite typical in these scenarios, and I would say maybe quite typical in Europe as well. So it's a multifaceted approach that we need to address in order to address these challenges. And therefore, there is a complex interplay here that between the data that Julia presented, the regulation that Claire talked about, and also the funding that Jeroen also talked about, apart from the clinical trials point of view as well that Rosa referred to. So with all these implementation challenges in mind, but also quite a lot of opportunities, let's face it, let's move on to a second round of questions. And again, I'm going to set a 3-minute limit as much as possible on all of you. But I'd like to start putting a question to both Julia and Claire this time. So if we look at your professional trajectories, they're quite different. You are active in different stakeholders' arenas. But from your respective experiences, could you tell us about one approach or way of working that proved successful and could bring real value if applied to other life sciences sectors? Perhaps Claire would start this time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we're looking at now is an amazing opportunity. This is a point of opportunity for biotechnology, and it's a point of opportunity for Europe, because biotech, if I give a little bit of a context, people always talk about biotech as, oh, it's tomorrow's, the benefit will be tomorrow. The benefit is already here. The benefit from biotech applied into sectors has been making an economic impact for decades. And right now, the growth in employment linked to biotechnology is 6 times that of the EU average. And so this is a next generation economy. And so if I link this to our challenge around enabling a regulatory framework across sectors that has the primary aim to bring products safely to market to Europe's incredibly high standards, which are gold standards worldwide, it's about how much you work together throughout the regulatory and innovation chain. It's not about doing your research and then taking it to the regulators when you're ready to do something. It's about working incredibly closely with
already
regulators right at the beginning, which is not super well enabled yet in Europe. And it's also about using tools such as regulatory sandboxes, which we've seen proposed in the general pharmaceutical legislation. And this is a fantastic opportunity for all sectors to work together as to how a regulatory sandbox for such a frontier technology can be built to suit its destination sector. And learning together across sectors as well for that is incredibly important, so that you don't silo technologies into different sectors with different frameworks. So for me, it's working together at the earliest stage between regulators and innovators and creating mechanisms like regulatory sandboxes that really enable the development of a next generation regulatory framework that fits the technology.
Thank you, Claire. I think it's loud and clear. Opportunities here. We need to act now. We need to have the regulators and innovators really working together right from the start. I think If there are any regulators, innovators there, I hope you heard that message too. But Julia, I think you might want to offer a different approach.
Yeah. Oh well. So I will bring the perspective of I would say this more the science, doing the science, right? Somehow. So my job somehow is well, I do not really represent any domain specifically, but I'm kind of like the glue that tries desperately sometimes to connect all domains that are orbiting around nutrition science. So let's just list them, like medicine, food science, nutritional epidemiology, chemistry, and computer science. So all these different domains are somehow represented among my collaborators and, for example, in my team, right? And why am I able to do this? So then here there is the educational challenge and potential bridge. Well, I'm able to do this because I'm a polymath person, right? And so I specialized in network science during my PhD, and what is network science in a nutshell is basically nothing more than the science that by modeling out things, molecules, peoples, and many other things connect is able to predict the overall behavior of the system. This allowed me to then start working with all these different disciplines, and in nutrition particularly, and for example, I don't know, work on models, how AI models can learn better when they work with, for example, sparse data, or at the same time, for example, how we can maximize chemical annotation for untargeted metabolomics. So when we create teams that put at the interface of different life science domain, polymath people, I guess that innovation in general, translation, cross-pollination happen, right? And I think right now we want to really stress this because currently AI models are becoming so good at generating ideas and writing manuscripts and writing papers about, let's say, that are leveraging, they're building upon the massive amount of accumulated knowledge that is domain specific. So we really need to hunt for big ideas at the intersection of domains if we want to move forward meaningfully.
Okay, so will that happen? Is it happening?
I think it's an existential threat,
Okay.
so we have to adapt, absolutely. So metrics will change.
Okay, big promise there. Thank you, Julia. Jeroen, I have a specific questions for you. You know that starting a life science-based company is already quite a challenge, but you've already done that. But scaling up can be difficult. You've already told us that. But from your perspective as an SME leader, what are the main enablers? We want you to be positive now, to successfully scale up life sciences companies in Europe. What are the levers?
Specifically for I'm talking about my company also because I'm facing it on a daily basis. Harmonization of regulatory, really short. Plant molecular farming isn't streamlined enough. So this is hampering my speed of growth throughout Europe. I want to globalize my technology, not stay in Belgium. So I'm missing a head start on just plug and play my system into various countries. I need it to have it harmonized more on a regulatory point of view. So now regulatory is based on legacy platforms like microbial fermentation, mammalian-based systems, but not so much on plant-based systems. And so there's a lot of gray areas in that, and we are asking for a framework for that to operate in. Funding, obviously, is the main enabler. It's a CapEx intensive system, obviously. You need people, so we need brain power. And I think that's the three main components that it's never about science, it's about scaling it. And you need money, you need regulatory streamlined, and you need people for it.
Okay, and what about AI? Can that be helpful?
We use it on a daily basis. So yeah, we have our own department in computational biology that uses AI models on a daily basis. So I think that's really speeding up
Okay.
innovation.
So it does help the speed.
Yes,
speed part.
absolutely.
Okay. I'll close the second round of questions with a question to you, Rosa. Experience has shown the importance of involving actually end users during the development of solutions to adequately answer their needs. How can we make sure that patients and end users are involved at the right time in the life science innovation journey? What do you see as your role in this regard?
Thanks for that question, and I'll try to be brief this time. And patients in rare diseases especially offer, I think, a good model for why is it so important to involve end users since the beginning. So along the whole cycle of research and innovation, it is very important because patients bring their experience, their lived experience, how to cope with rare diseases, what are the unmet needs, the real unmet needs for patients. And involving them since the beginning and along the whole trial, so in the trial design and throughout the whole cycle of research, means that at the end you will have the ability to find the patients, first of all, in rare diseases. That's very important because we are talking about very small populations. The ability to define the endpoints, the right ones, and at the end also to de-risk the path to access, which is what you want. You want the innovations to get to the end users. At the end, this also means, fewer failed studies and also faster recruitment, which is one of the obstacles right now. What do we do? Our role as Eurordis, as a patient umbrella organization, along with other patient organizations, we have different roles. We identify we can help identify the patients, find them. This is especially important for underrepresented, smaller countries. And in the EU, this is a big important part. Making sure that since the whole design is inclusive, so that all the underrepresented countries, but also underrepresented populations are there in the clinical trials. We can help with the training to make sure that the patients are integrated and they have full confidence since day zero that they can contribute to research. And we have, for instance, the Open Academy at Eurordis does precisely that. We also generate evidence from the patients on their lived experience. Very important, we need funding, stable funding to continue to do that. And we need to be seriously involved in the governance of research. So overall, there is a great recognition of the role of end users and patients, but this has to be matched with the representativeness of patients and with stable funding on their end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rosa. Very interesting items put forward by all four of you. I have to say, it's been really a privilege to have so much input in so little time, actually. But we do have some time left. And now we have a bigger challenge that I'm going to put ahead of you. And I'd like you to answer this question that I'm going to put to all four of you in just one sentence. Yes.
It can have subordinates, like it's like and comma, and comma, and comma.
Yeah,
Just
one
trying
sentence that's still intelligible. Okay. We do have a huge audience here and online, so they need to understand and get the message across. So here comes the question. Thinking about the future of life sciences innovation in Europe, how would you describe success of the life science strategy in 2030 in just one sentence? Or if I just want to put it shorter, what does success look like for you for life sciences? Who would like to start?
Don't push.
I'll go.
Don't rush. Okay, Claire.
For me, success for biotechnology from Europe's amazing life sciences research base and amazing entrepreneurial landscape is seeing products coming to market here first. That is what success looks like.
Loud and clear. I think round of applause for Claire. Who'd like to go next? Jeroen.
I'll tap into that. So make it harmonized, obviously. Make it harmonized, trusted by citizens, funded by ambition, and real tangible benefits for planet and people. Yeah.
Lots of commas and semicolons there, but still the message is clear.
It went aloud.
Again, another round of applause for Jeroen. Thank you, Jeroen. Who'd like to go next? Julia.
Well, I guess it's me. So I'm not great at one-liners, but let's try. So I hope that Europe will actively choose and will be chosen by an ecosystem of Gen Z and millennial PIs that will come here to grow, innovate, boost translation, meaningful translation with impacts in the society, real impact in the society, possibly fostered by a keyword that was mentioned yesterday, that is faster access to bottom-up funding opportunities, and hopefully a maximum of 5-page proposals, hopefully.
Okay, I wouldn't have done it in one breath, for sure, but Julia managed. Thank you, Julia, for that very insightful conclusion from your end as well. Rosa, you have the privilege of being the last, certainly not the least, but I'm sure you're going to give us a big, resounding sentence to that question.
No pressure.
In answer to that question.
A sentence with many parentheses, but no, I think success is Europe building up on its own successes, for instance, in rare disease field, pioneering research, involving people living with rare diseases, empowering them, and where innovation at the end shortens the diagnostic odyssey for rare disease patients and brings them the innovations that addresses their unmet needs.
Thank you, Rosa. A big applause for Rosa, too. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our session. We have heard, and I think you'll agree, very, very wise, very knowledgeable, very curated advice and points and ideas that could be put in motion for making people the most attractive place for life sciences. This is the challenge we have set for our speakers this morning. They were inspirational ideas regarding research and innovation ecosystems, how to access the right expertise, how to get the best data and infrastructures, how to go faster through collaboration, through partnerships, knowledge sharing, and also the timing of the collaboration, as Claire said, how to navigate complex regulatory frameworks and increase investments, how to engage with end users so they benefit from innovation that fits their needs. But what I'm particularly pleased to have captured today is the passion for life sciences that you all demonstrated and that you all really passed on to this huge hall today. At the European Commission, we also share this passion for life sciences. We believe in their potential, and this is why we adopted the strategy for European life sciences earlier this year. Internally, what shall we be doing? We will be working closer together to ensure innovation-friendly, coherent policies, the funding as well, and also the activities. We will actively work to bring the life sciences and the actions put forward today. But we want your help as well, and we want you to be inspired in your own circles and in your own field of activity. And this is why we encourage ourselves as well, and we are encouraged to work with you as external actors and to discuss and to keep up the discussion, like today, about opportunities that I am sure will increase and multiply, and they are there to be seized. And of course, there'll be hurdles to be lifted along the way. Clearly, we will not succeed in this endeavor without having all the stakeholders mobilized to turn the vision into reality by effectively leveraging the investments, the expertise, and the resources. The life science innovation journey is long, but we have bright researchers and innovators in Europe on which we can count. And as today's discussion demonstrated, we can also collaborate with and also seek inspiration from bright minds like you've seen today beyond Europe's borders. Let us work all together to deliver on the ambitions of the strategy for European life sciences. Success for the strategy will mean increased well-being and a better quality of life for our citizens, and a more competitive and autonomous and independent Europe as well as sustainable prosperity. Thank you, and a big applause to yourselves for having been with us this morning. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much, Joanna Drake. Just can I have your attention just for 1 minute? Thank you, Joanna Drake and her panelists, for that fascinating panel. Now there is a 15-minute break, rather brief for you to stretch your legs. Then you can choose between 3 panels. One I'll be moderating here in the Gold Hall on the main stage with 3 cutting-edge scientists from across Europe. We'll even have a live demo here on stage. Then in the Silver Hall, you can learn about the EU's clinical research ecosystem, a crucial topic for anyone following health. Or you can check out the Copper Hall. That's a more business-focused talk to commercialize breakthrough research. So see you soon and enjoy the RNI Days 2025.